Hi, and welcome to the Crit Hit Wild podcast, where we cover all things Marvel Crisis Protocol, and we cover a new character every week. This week, we're going to be talking about Rescue, and I'm your host, Fred.
I'm Brad.
I'm Steven.
And I'm Daniel.
Hello, everyone, and hello, Daniel. It's nice to have you back on the podcast.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. Thanks for inviting me again.
Yeah, we have a lot to discuss, and before we get started doing what we're going to cover today, let's talk about upcoming events. So, it is late November right now. The next tournament that I want to call out is on December the 6th. That is at Round Table Games in Dublin, Ohio. That's all I know about that event, but if you are in that region, you should go check that out. Then coming up on December the 20th, there is a tournament at South Charleston at Lost Legion Games, and that is our local event. So if you are in the area, please come down. But this is not any sort of league or tournament event. This is just going to be
It is a tournament.
our local game store. So it's usually pretty sparsely attended. But we would love to have as many people as we can show up.
We had 8 at the last one. Not that sparsely attended.
Yeah, which is pretty good. That's a pretty good number. And when is the tournament in January? The
24th.
Daniel, the 24th of January. Yes, there is a tournament in Toronto, Ohio. What is the game store called, Daniel?
Toledo, Ohio.
In Toronto, Ohio. Oh man, I'm not feeling great. In
It
Toledo,
is, Old school gaming, and I'm surprised you could forget because my friends made a drinking game out of how many times I name dropped old school gaming the last time I was on the podcast.
you absolutely did, and I just didn't remember. I apologize. All right, well, now that I've put my foot squarely in my mouth, how is everyone else doing? How are you doing, Daniel?
I'm doing well. It's been a busy weekend, long weekend, but it's been a good weekend.
That's good to hear. How about you, Steven? How are you doing?
Pretty good. Got a model in my hand, getting on my painting train again.
Nice. How about you, Brad? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I painted 2.5 miles today.
Nice. Okay. You're doing better than I am.
The half model is for you, Fred.
Hey, for those of you who are listening, I don't paint. I just don't have that particular skill, and I've been having Brad paint my models for me for money, and it is so nice to put painted models on the table. I will tell you that much. It just feels better.
It does.
Painted models win.
They do.
Painted models roll better. That's a scientific fact.
That is
Not the
that
most
is accurate.
recently painted one. The most recently painted one dies every game. That's true.
Yeah, they get targeted right away.
That's true across all game systems. It does not matter.
Look at this new model I just painted and brought to the game night. Oh, they're dead.
Womp womp. All right. Well, while we're talking about it, let's talk about games that we played recently. Well, Daniel, do you have some games that you want to talk about today?
Yeah, yesterday I went to an event in Fort Wayne, Indiana. It was just a small event at another game store, also called Round Table Games. I don't think it's affiliated with the one in Dublin. It was a cool event, though. It was like an alternate game mode that they came up with. I think they just called it like a multiverse event. But you could run multiple characters with the same alias, and then they restricted you to only bringing tactics cards that specifically called out characters or their alias. So like I ran Web Warriors with both Mileses, which felt pretty cool. I did lose round 1 because since I was locked into taking cards that called out a specific character, I couldn't have all webbed up, and I didn't know what to do. Like I got to the point in the game where I'm like, all right, this is the turn I play all webbed up, and I couldn't. So then all my models just died because I couldn't kill people and run away. But then the next 2 rounds, I had some god tier defense rolls with Amazing Spider-Man. He just never died. Miles 2 never died. he was on 1 health for a very long time, and I ended up running away with that game. And then the third round, I played a younger kid who seemed like he just got into the game, and I felt kind of bad because I kind of demolished him. But it's still a really fun time, and it's a format that I would definitely recommend exploring sometime because it was interesting.
Yeah, that sounds really. That's you can only play cards that are character or alias specific. That's
Right.
interesting. I've
And then
never
since you
heard of
could
that before.
play with multiple characters with the same alias, like for instance, Brief Reprieve specifically calls for Ultimate Spider-Man, but part of the rule was Annie Miles could play it since Ultimate Spider-Man's alias is Miles. So it led to some goofy stuff. Someone played all 3 Red Skulls at once. Someone played all 3 Black Panthers at once. It was cool.
Ooh,
This is a cool
That does
event
sound fun.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
I
interesting.
like this.
Okay, well,
Show up with Apocalypse.
How about
have the
you,
only
Steve?
recal?
huh, you
I think
would
so.
you would have the only recal.
Yeah.
Well, Steven, do you
Yes.
have any games that you want to talk about that you've played recently?
Well, I have played games as of this Friday. I went to a new store, but they were not Marvel Crisis Protocol. However, I did pitch to the store owner about starting up a Learn to Play Marvel Crisis Protocol for every other Sunday after the first of the year. So that's half the reason I'm painting new models and getting stuff situated. I have over 100 models painted. I mean, that's not the problem. It's just that I know having a bigger variety for people to choose from would probably be a good idea. So
Hey, you're doing the Lord's work. You're spreading this game around.
I'm trying to. It's a
Yeah.
dry season down here in Carolinas. So
Well, hopefully you will change that. You're spreading it around there in the Carolinas. All right.
I'm like a disease. I'm spreading. So anyway.
Well, Brad, have you played any games that you want to talk about?
I have played 3 games with Hellfire Club this week. I played them a while ago and put them away because it wasn't fun. And I thought with Emma and a couple other changes, I'd try it again. So the first game, we played both new Crisis cards, the Jailbreak and Lockdown. We played both of them. They do pair very well together. And I played Cassandra Nova. I forced myself to play Cassandra Nova again, and she's much better. She feels much better. She's just a lot of points. And honestly, I don't even remember who won this game. It was against Memphis, so probably me. But it was really just to try out the new scenarios. And then I played 2 games at 17 points. I played Memphis, and then I played Michael. And I played in those games a list I really liked. It was Emma, Mystique, Angel, Spider-Man Noir, and Prowler. And
Okay.
I got to dice Memphis, which was fun because he dices all of us all the time. And I ran away with that game. Like, I would have won that game anyway, but dicing him meant I ended up winning that game like 20-10 or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
There's one round I scored 8 points to his 0.
Yeah.
And then
That
then I played the craziest game ever against Michael. So Michael was playing Hydra, and he was playing Red Skull 2 as his leader. I played the exact same list. He had Frankenstein, Incant 2, Bob, and Baron Zemo. That was his list. And we were on Guardians. the one where you roll 3 dice every time, and you can re-roll if you have an extract, and it's a pay to flip. And we were playing. Oh, what were we playing? Something with 4 that we could. Oh, it was the one that pushes you, whatever that is. If you holding the extract and you're more than 2 away from secure, your opponent gets to push you towards a secure, whatever that one's called. And
Deadline to no, that's not
that's a
deadline to
secure.
destruction. I forget.
I don't remember. It literally never had to make a push the entire game. Neither one of us. It wasn't that sort of game. So what happened was the first turn we each score 4, but that makes sense because there's 2 extracts and 2 secures on each side of the board. And then turn 2, we fight a whole bunch and we end up each scoring 4, but they were like split left and right which ones we scored. And then the next turn was a real bloody turn, and we each ended up dropping a extract we couldn't pick up, and we each score 3. So that's 3 turns of the game we're tied every turn. And then we have a big turn where I go for broke, trying to get enough points to win. And I think I failed a flip at the end, so we each get 4 points. So we're now tied at 15. And we fight another round, and I'm sure I'm going to lose this round because I keep not being able to take out Red Skull, and Red Skull is killing everyone he touches. The other side of the board, I'm pretty okay. It's Emma and Spider-Man Noir versus Baron Zemo, the Mummy, and Bob, and that side's going fine for me. But the side with Frankenstein and Red Skull isn't going well. So, for example, turn 3, Prowler's dead. I got to activate him once. By this point in the game, I think Angel dies, like turn 4 or 5. Mystique will die before the end of the game, and that whole side is dead. But we're tied at 15. I'm sure I'm gonna lose. I managed to tie it up again, so we're tied at 19.
Oh my gosh.
We go to turn 6. And I have to get incredibly lucky here. So this is where Mystique dies. I have to get incredibly lucky to win this, to not lose this game. And I fall short of KOing in Cantu and cannot win. And that's what it comes down to. I killed Baron Zemo with Emma the turn before. Noir puts some damage on Encantu and dazes Bob. Bob got to shoot his rocket and did not get any other activations all game. And then Emma goes and she can't put down Encantu. And at that point, Encantu had already gone, dazed Spider-Man Noir, and picked up his extract. So that was enough to seal the game for Michael, even if I get rid of Encantu. I can't pick up his token because Emma already has one. And so I cannot win, even tie it up again. So I am going to lose. If Spider-Man Noir took out Encantu, then there is a possibility of me tying. and us going into turn 7.
Round 7.
Yeah, but he ends up beating me. I get to 21, and he's at 24 at the end.
This sounds like a classic Michael game.
It was a pretty crazy game. It was fun though. I love Angel.
Okay.
Angel's great. When Angel just doesn't, whenever Angel doesn't just die, because it's very easy for him to just die. Angel does so much. There was one turn where I absolutely misplayed him, and he still did a lot. But I should have done something different, and it would have been way cooler.
He's always moving people around. He's got the beam. He's solid. He's a solid 3 threat.
Yeah. You place off the beam, which is the thing I forgot, which is why I misplayed him. I ended up double moving him, and in the second move, I hostile takeovered and pushed Red Skull off the point and had a power left over to flip the point. And what I should have done was attacked Red Skull, placed next to him, and then spindered him to throw him into Frankenstein. That would have been way better, but that is not what I did. Also, there was a point where on his healthy side, Angel had 4 out of 5 damage on him, and between his healing factor and the leadership, he was back to full health at some point after that.
Wow.
It was great. Okay, that's my games.
Okay. I played 2 games, both against Brandon, of Inhumans, and in the first game I won. We were playing on the new Secure, but we were playing the extract we were playing was Skrulls, and so I brought Terrigenesis. I think that I failed. I think I've tried to Terrigenesis this game, and I whiffed the roll and did not do any damage. But Black Bolt, 5-threat Black Bolt, did amazing work. He is such a house, and he won me this game because every die roll he rolled was nothing but success. It felt really good playing Black Bolt, especially with all the dice fixing that are in the game. The second game I played against Brandon, I was playing Maximus the Mad's leadership and King Black Bolt, and I do eventually lose this game. But let me tell you, Maximus the Mad's leadership is not bad. It is.
No, I think it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. It is a ton of free rerolls in a faction that already has some innate dice fixing. So the dice fixing that I could create was actually pretty impressive. Yeah, I do like Maximus the Mad's leadership. It does have some flaws, obviously, but you have both King Black Bolt and Maximus the Mad who can move people outside of their activation. So if you get taken off of a point, one of them can just put you right back on there. So that's the fix, at least.
Yeah, but I also think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was gonna say, I also think that, like, in a vacuum, if you look at Maximus or even at the card that comes with what's her name, Medusa, like, they do seem slightly underpound leaderships. But if you're running King Black Bolt alongside of them, he has that sort of like pseudo leadership that affects all characters that have the Inhuman ability, and then almost picks up the slack by giving you an extra like team wide ability. So I think it ends up being fine in the aggregate.
Yeah. It never came up in this game, but okay. If anyone is ever staggered, you can just get rid of staggered at the beginning of the activation phase with that leadership. It's so useful. All right. Well, those were the games that I played. I can't draw up any specific memories other than what I. Oh, here's something that happened. In the game that I won, part of why I won is because we were playing the secure where one of them, a random one, always dies every round, and every single time it was one of Brandon's two that died, one of the two on his side of the map. So I had an innate advantage just by the luck of the die roll. That is something that's going to occur a lot on that board, I think, where
interesting.
it is up to chance as to whether, I mean, that's always the case, like with pay to flips especially, it's up to chance. It's on McCran crystals, it's a 50-50, and how many times have we won or lost based on of those die rolls?
Yeah,
it's quite a few times.
I do have a question for you, gentlemen. I assume you're playing under the new rules. How are you finding the changes to the core mechanics of the game?
So the choosing crises, I still need to get used to it. It is something that I do like the ideas. Like, it gives me some more agency in choice. Like, I'm provided 2 crises to choose from. I do like that. I just need to get used to the whole back and forth of it, because it is a different way to do things.
I think I'll like it better when Terragenesis is banned. Simply because, like, I'm not running anything with civilians to completely avoid it, but some of them I think would be fine for Web Warriors if it weren't for Terragenesis. So, like, the 5 that I have access to, it just doesn't feel as strong as it could. That being said, that's just me being a complainer. I think mechanically it's fine.
Yeah, I like it. I wish there were more choices, and I do wish Terragenesis was gone.
Yeah.
I think it is healthy for the game that it is basically impossible to force or even to end up, not even force, but to end up on a scenario that favors you extremely. So, like, the old E-shapes would not be as big of a problem if they were in the game as they used to be. And, like, you never have to play Kingpin on Superpowered Scoundrels. That's
that's
not
the
a thing you have to do. So, stuff like that. Now, people who like to skew that maybe missed this episode of the podcast are not happy with this change, but I think it's healthy.
Yeah, I personally do like to skew, like, even when it's skewed against me, just because, I don't know, like, when you do win a game that feels like it was stacked against you, you feel really accomplished. But I understand that I'm probably in the minority in that aspect, and so I think, like, it doesn't ruin the game experience for me that I don't get screwed over or can screw someone over. Like, every game just is still the same to me, honestly. Like, once you actually get into the game, there's not a huge difference. It's just the choice is gone a little bit to force someone into something that's going to be really good for you, but you were only doing that in a small percentage of the time in the first place, so it just takes that out of it.
It's become a meme I'm sorry, Steven. It's become a meme on podcasts and stuff that, some people have to play fair and honest MCP and some people don't. And I feel like more people have to play fair and honest MCP now. Sorry, Steven, for cutting you off.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You guys were doing a little jive there. So, how are you finding the second priority role? How do you account for that?
It has been interesting. In both the games that I played, the person who deployed first ended up not going first, which is just by sheer luck of the dice. And what it means is you can't now, in neither case were we even attempting to do a safe grab, but it makes it trickier to like set up expecting a safe grab. Like, you don't know you're going first, and maybe you put yourself across from one that they're going to take. I kind of like it now that I'm no longer playing Web Warriors. that this is a thing. It makes it so that it's less of a given that they're going to take away one of the objectives off the top of the game.
Yeah. So I was playing Web Warriors, and I have just a million long movers. So, like, for instance, the second game where I mentioned that Amazing Spider-Man and Miles both just sort of never died, I set up as if I was going to be able to safe grab the middle. I didn't end up getting priority, so he took the middle one. But with Amazing Spider-Man having a big base and a long move, like, it's super easy to get to those back points. So if you still set him up in the middle, you can just go to whichever back point you think he's less likely to die on. So that's what I did, and then he, spent a lot of time trying to swing into Amazing Spider-Man really unsuccessfully, and so like it ended up being fine for me. I think when you have as many long movers as Web Warriors do, like I think it honestly almost helps them that they, even though they still have the safe grabs, they still have a lot of ways to play dynamic into not having priority and being able to set up either way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think
Brad, do you have anything on this?
I think you do have to just be flexible. That's
Yeah.
It's forcing people to deploy more flexibly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
I think there are a lot of lists that had safe grabs though, that this doesn't hinder them that much, because like the reason you have safe grabs is because you're super mobile, and if you're super mobile, you're really good at being versatile also. So like I don't think it takes away the certainty of deploying, but I don't think it takes away the power level of the teams that were really good on turn one.
I'm playing Inhumans now, and I still have access to a safe grab. Round 2, I can long move Quicksilver, and I can safe grab one of my opponent's F extracts if they're deployed on the F, and you have to move a power onto him the round beforehand, but you can do it on either one. You can deploy him in the dead center, and he can get to either one of them. So that is still in play.
Well, even though I'm not playing foes currently, I see this as a Sinister Traps just went down in power level quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So did Cat and Spider, because like there was a couple situations where I couldn't set it up to guarantee a safe grab with that just because of how terrain was laid out. Like I didn't have an angle to throw Black Cat if I didn't end up with priority. So yeah, I can feel you there, Steven. There's definitely some cards that set up your safe grabs are going to be worse, but I think, like I said, the overall power level of the teams that were good at it is still going to be high.
Okay, all right. Like I said, I don't have any practice into it, so I was trying to get some insights. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep.
Well, since we're talking about changes to the rule set, there are 2 rule changes that we didn't cover in our last episode, just because we missed them. They were kind of corner case scenarios. But Brad, do you have those, like the wording on those immediately available?
not the wording. I just know what they are.
Can you say what they are in a way that makes sense as opposed to me?
One of them is that when you are determining whether you can pass or not, you do not count grunts.
It did seem silly that you were bound to holding to grunts.
Yeah. And then the other one is they added to the rule book something that they've clarified in the forums online, but it was asked enough they made it a rule. If a character card and a crisis card disagree, you do what the crisis card says. So a good example of this is Dracula's superpower, where he can move long, but he's holding a Terrigen canister.
Terrigen canister.
Yeah, which says that you have to move short. You do what the crisis card says, and he moves short.
Yep.
Yeah, and that one specifically, since Dracula's rule text specifies that his movement becomes long, but the crisis card physically makes it so that he cannot do that. Versus like like a Baron Zemo trigger off of his second attack that has him advance medium. That's not changing his speed, so he still advances medium off of that.
Yes.
Huh. Boy. Okay. Well, those are important rule changes and clarifications, but they're really kind of corner case. So that's why we didn't really talk about them yesterday. Not yesterday, y'all. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm coming off of a
Fred
sickness.
is lying to you guys. We didn't talk about them because we absolutely forgot that there's a lot of changes and we forgot those two.
That is correct. That is the truth.
There's technically a third one I don't think you guys covered too, because under the way that the rules were originally written, interrogate on Spider-Woman didn't technically work.
Didn't technically.
So they clarified in the rules that it does now work. So it used to be that Day's characters couldn't count for scoring at all. Now they just can't count for your scoring, but they can count for your opponent's scoring. Yeah. So that something like interrogate works.
Oh man.
Another one it's very pedantic.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they had ruled on the rules for them that obviously interrogate works, but technically it didn't.
Okay, well, now that we're done appeasing the pedants, let's talk about leagues and about setting them up for our home stores and how that functions. Daniel, I'm going to throw this over to you again. You are our leagues expert.
Fred, we forgot something.
Strong term.
We forgot something.
I forgot something
during the upcoming events that now seems like a good time to do it. If you're anywhere near Charleston, West Virginia, you can come get a demo of MCP. I don't know why you're listening to this podcast if you don't already play.
Yeah,
but
no one who's listening to this needs a demo.
Maybe your friends do.
Maybe your friends do. We are doing demos on December 11th from 6 to 8, and then January 8th from 6 to 8. I have a couple demo tables set up. And then we are going to do a 4-week league starting January 15th. This is more for established players, but it is newbie friendly. If you don't have models to play in the league, you can borrow models to play in the league. We have plenty for people to play with. The league is Spider-Verse themed. It's called War of the Spider-Verse. I have cool stuff that, like, I have achievements to do. I have goodies to give away. In fact, you get a special special cool looking Spider-Verse character card if you do the special thing every week. So there will be cool stuff to do to get that card. And one more thing, if you are a new player, you come get a demo, and you play in the league, you are entered into a drawing to get a core set. Or Smarties core set, which is cool.
That is cool. Holy moly.
Yeah.
So that's, of course,
all right players. Then. Well, thank you. Thank you, Brad. And now I'm going to throw it over to Daniel to talk about how leagues work and good strategies to use during them. So, Daniel, throwing it over to you.
All right. Well, I just want to clarify, I'm not the league expert. I'm just the poor sod who always runs leagues. But once again, I have
news for you, bud. That does make you the league expert.
That's fair, I guess. Just like last time, I have a bunch of like bullet points outlined, so if I start rambling on one of them too much, go ahead and tell me to move on to the next one. But the first thing I have here is, when should you start a league? So I kind of touched on this a little bit in the last time I was here, and I was talking about building a community, but you'll find a point where hopefully you have a handful of regular players. I think 8 to 12 is a good number to try and start at. If you maybe only have 6, though, I think that's totally fine. You could just run like a 5-week round robin type thing. But if you have some number of semi-regular players, but you notice they're not necessarily showing up every single week at the same time together, maybe start a league, and that'll sort of jolt in some interest to them. And then the advantages of starting a league. So why should you want to start a league? I said this last time, but you're going to capture a lot more players for a league than you do with regular tournaments. Tournaments are great. They're more for competitive players, though, who want to set aside an entire day. Leagues are going to be really good for people who want to play the game more casually and just sort of play once a week. They don't necessarily have time to play 3 or 4 rounds of the game all at once. It's also good because you're going to have people regularly playing at your store throughout the week. This is good because it increases visibility. Any day that you go into old school gaming here in Toledo, you're probably going to see somebody playing one of their league matches. And anytime I'm playing, people sort of walk by, linger by the table if they maybe don't know what the game is. And me being the person that I am, if I see that, I immediately just start talking to them. And I say, hey, interested in this game? Ever played it before? Do you want to learn about it? And I don't know, half the time, I'm probably just bothering them. But some number of people do end up asking follow-up questions, and we end up running a demo or something with them and get them interested. So having people playing at the game or at the store throughout the week helps increase your visibility, and that's going to help spread the game even more. And then the last thing that's an advantage of starting a league is it's going to help your store make money, which I know isn't like the primary function of everyone here who wants to get into games. But the reason you want to help your store make money is because then your store can continue to stay open, so you have somewhere to play, and they'll also help support your league. But then, so once you've decided that you want to start a league, you kind of got to try and figure out what you want to accomplish with your league. So there's a lot of dueling ideas that you can kind of go, and pick a path, or not even necessarily pick a path, but like treat it like a slider, where you have 2 different concepts on either end. You can lean into one or the other. So like the most broad example of that is like casual versus competitive. Do you want your league to be more competitive? Do you want it to be more casual? Do you want it to be somewhere in between? You're going to be doing this for multiple weeks. Do you want it to be better? Do you think it would be better for your community if you guys all just played one roster for all those weeks, or one-on-one affiliation to try and get better with that? Or do you think it'd be better for your community if you guys were trying new things regularly and playing a lot of different stuff? Do you want to play real games where you're playing the game as it's intended, or you want to play different game modes, kind of like the one I mentioned at the beginning, where I said we played that multiverse format this weekend at that storm in Fort Wayne? You could decide to do one or the other, or try and find somewhere in between. Do you want your players playing more for theme, or do you want them playing more for optimization? Again, that's kind of goes hand in hand with casual versus competitive. And then, do you want to cater to newer players who maybe have smaller collections, people with bigger collections? Do you want to try and balance both? So these are all different things that you kind of want to evaluate and consider. What are you trying to accomplish with the league, and who are you trying to, empower? And a lot of the times, like, there are good ways to balance both. You kind of just have to figure out where your community is at and how much you want to lean one direction or the other. Does that all kind of make sense?
Yeah, that does. That's
Okay.
good. It's good advice to kind of have an idea of where you are as a community when you're setting this thing up.
Yeah, because I will say, like, I can tell you exactly how I run my league. I don't know if the way that I run my league is necessarily the best for you guys. We do have one other game store in the area in Toledo that also runs a league, and they run it very different. And that's totally fine because they still get between 10 and 12 people every time that they run it. So clearly that's working for them and the player base that they have. But so I'll go through some of the things that have worked best for me and sort of touch on how those work into those different concepts and try and either strike a balance or lean one way or the other. The first thing that I have written down here for that, it's something that every single minis league that we have ever run at Old School Gaming, we always do this scoring system for week-to-week scoring, and it's a 3-point weekly system. So every match that you play, you are scoring 1 point just for showing up. You are scoring 1 point for having your army or your team painted, and then you also score a point for winning. So obviously winning still has to be a part of it. You don't, like, if you're going to lean entirely into casual, I guess you could have 0 points for winning and just like do it all objective based. But realistically, you want the games to be real and you want the games to matter, so you do want to incentivize winning at least a little bit. But the 3-point system's nice because it makes it so that winning is only a third of no more than 1/3 of your success rate. And then having the point for painting is important because, again, you want to help make the store some money. So if you're encouraging people to paint their models, you're encouraging them to buy models or to buy paints. And also it just looks better. Like, let's be honest, the game's more visually appealing when your models are painted, and it's a big part of the hobby as well. And then 1 point for showing up is just important because you don't want anyone to be super flaky and not get punished for it. So it's basically just there. Instead of missing out on 2 points, you're missing out on all 3 if you end up skipping a lot of games. Now, if they come up with like a legitimate reason, something awful happens, and then obviously they can reach out to you and you can work on not punishing them to the max. But you also don't want like situations where maybe someone just doesn't like people and like I don't know, you don't want it to be like a source of bullying that everybody's like avoiding this specific person, because that would be really crummy as well. So that's like the first thing that I think at a baseline I really recommend is doing some sort of, and it doesn't have to be 3 points, maybe you do want to incentivize winning more, so maybe you do 2 points for winning and then 1 point for painting, 1 point just for showing up, something like that. But I think that's a good way to kind of balance how much you want your league to care about winning. The next one I have on here kind of relates to that. Do you want them to be better off with one roster affiliation versus trying new things? I try and strike a balance between the two of those. So I have it that we run our league for 6 weeks. As long as you play 4 different leaders, you can get a bonus point for that at the end of the league. 1 bonus point's not the most impactful thing in the world, so like it's not super punishing if someone just straight up wants to play one roster the entire time. But then the balance of 4 out of 6 weeks being a different leaders also kind of helps with that, because you could, if there's one roster that you do want to play over and over, you at least get 3 weeks with that roster, and then you just have to play something different for the next 3 to hit your 4 total different leaders. So it's nice. It's a nice balance between you get a good number of reps with whatever you're trying to get better with, while also branching out into new things. So like Fred, for you specifically, you know, you were playing Wakanda, you weren't super happy with them, so you were trying to think about what you wanted to play next. This is kind of a good way to do that, where you still get reps in with Wakanda, since that's what you're playing right now, but then you can dabble in other things as well.
I gotta correct you. I have shelved Wakanda.
I know you have shelved Wakanda. You're on Inhumans now.
I'm on Inhumans now.
Yeah, previously
but
I know.
To your point, you are correct. It lets you branch out. That playing it that way lets you sprinkle in some new choices, which is a good way to expand your play style.
Right. And a lot of people end up just playing 6 different leaders throughout the league just because that's what's fun for them, right? They get enough reps. Maybe they play enough casual games to play what they want to play in the first place. So this is just an outlet to constantly try new stuff. Another thing that I think really, really works, and this is my favorite one, I kind of talked to Brad about it already in the past. We do something we call Spicy List Week. So this kind of hits on theme versus optimization. We have 1 week where we just like fully incentivize you to lean into the theme. So basically the way it works is I picked week 5 specifically. That's where everybody picks or brings some sort of themed roster, whether it be themed off of the comics, themed off of mechanics, themed off of how the model looks, anything like that they might want to do. They bring a list that they don't care about how like fine-tuned or optimized it is. They just are like playing this goofy theme. At the end of the league, I put out a survey. Everyone picks their 3 favorite, and then the top 5 get extra bonus points at the end. So some really good examples of this that we've had. One of the ones that won was my least favorite Marvel shows. So they played an Inhuman shell, splashing She-Hulk and Iron Fist, because those are all pretty bad Marvel shows. I did one where it was Matt Murdock and all of his girlfriends, so I played Shadowlands Daredevil with Black Cat, Elektra, Black Widow, and She-Hulk, because he's dated all of them at some point in either TV or comics. What are some other good ones? We had one that was just average Joe's, so like, I don't remember who specifically, but it was like Hawkeye and Nick Fury and like people with guns, basically. So things like that. So that's one that I really like run. That's been a huge success. Everybody loves Spicy List Week just because it's more about being creative and doing the fun thing than it is about doing the good thing. And I think that's like, you maybe don't want that every single week, because I do think it's important to get real games in to get better at the game. But this nice creative outlet at least once throughout the league is a really fun way to, I don't know, mix things up and encourage creativity.
I mean, that is a fun idea, is being, and there's kind of a disincentive if you're just playing casually about playing a silly roster. I mean, at least this has been my experience because we are regularly playing pretty competitive lists. I mean, that's not always the case, but it's usually the case that we're playing competitively. And if you bring a very theme heavy list, you're going to be at a disadvantage. But if everyone's bringing a theme heavy list, you won't be. You'll be everyone's playing something fun, something silly, and it'll be a more enjoyable experience for all the people who are trying out new stuff.
Right, exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
So Dan, I could run my everybody who's bald in the game list.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. That'd be great. Someone did. They called their list "Let me make one more point," and every single model was just pointing in one direction or the other. That one was pretty funny. There's a bunch of really good ones, and I'll say the reason I landed on doing one specific week for it is I don't know why it didn't click for me for so long, but I made it a generic vote on point, but I didn't specify what week to do it. So people would bring a spicy list a week that someone else didn't, or some people wouldn't bring a spicy list at all because they weren't really sure what that meant, or weren't really good at leaning into a theme. And so I had it as a vote-based bonus point for 3 leagues in a row before I finally figured out, I should just set aside an entire week so that people are actually incentivized to all do it at the same time. And since I started doing it that way, it's been the best part of the league in my opinion. It's so fun. So yeah, I definitely recommend if you think that your community will have a good time sort of having that creative outlet within the game. I definitely recommend it because there's been some pretty fun and wacky lists that have popped up because of it. It's pretty cool.
So I went.
I'm right now trying to think of something fun to do.
I have that. So my one fear is I'm afraid other people will start running out of ideas. Whereas I have 15 different ones locked and loaded, saved in Cerebro right now, because I just have a billion ideas for them. I can give you guys a few ideas after we are done recording if you guys are interested. And then the last one I have on the things
Daniel. I just want to say that for our upcoming league, I kind of wanted there to be a little bit of that casual feel, especially to introduce new people to the game. So I went with a mild bit of spice every week for the 4 weeks. Just a little pinch of spice. Just a little
paprika.
Yeah, a little paprika. My dad's allergic, so that's a lot of spice for him. But yeah, just a little bit of spice. So and you get a card for playing with that spice.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing, just to encourage people to try something a little different.
Yeah, so that actually is a good segue into my next one here. You said, give them a card for doing that. Finding non-point-based ways to incentivize people into doing things is another really good thing for the league, in my opinion. So one way that I do that is I do what I call rogue agent side missions. So I touched on this a little bit in the last time I was on the podcast when I brought up the Cyclops side mission I did. But basically the way that works is it's totally optional. It's not worth any victory or any points towards your standings in the league. I always have an additional prize for it. And I pick one character, I give them rogue agent so that they never count against your affiliation. And then I come up with something that you're trying to do. So Cyclops is a really good example where whoever scored the most extract points with Cyclops at the end of the league won the acrylic Cyclops promo card. That was probably the most fun league I've ever had playing this game, because what I ended up doing is I put Cyclops in a bunch of mutant villain lists that he would not obviously normally be affiliated with. So I played him in Sentinels, I played him in Brotherhood, I played him in Hellfire Club, I played him in Apocalypse, and then I ended up playing him in, what was the last one? Cabal. So that was 5 of my 6 weeks, and then the 6th one was obviously the spicy list. I didn't fit him into that one. But so encouraging players to play some of maybe the underappreciated characters and encouraging them to play them out of affiliation, do different things with them. And specifically trying to get them to play them in a way that they're not want to be played. Because I feel like normally when I see Cyclops on the table, he's just sitting on a back point. So by making him run and interact with the extracts, I think that kind of pushed him in a different direction that you normally see him. So that was a lot of fun. Another one that I did was we did OG Spider-Man, so from the first core set, and whoever had the most dazes or KOs with him by the end, I had a Spider-Punk comic and then some 3D printed Web Warrior affiliation tokens, and that one ended up being really, really hard. I think the winner ended up only having 3 dazes or KOs with him by the end of it. It was a tough one, but again, it was really cool to see that one. Instead of doing like a narrative thing like I did with Cyclops, I tried to like use it as a roster building exercise and put him in lists that I thought would help him KO more people. It didn't work, but I played him in things like Asgard with Jane Foster giving him rerolls. I played him in Guardians and to give him winging it tokens, things like that. So that was another fun one. The current one we're on, I think I made it a little too hard, so don't do this one. But I did original Winter Soldier. In theory, you can get off 6 attacks in one turn with him if you use his spender, which then lets him do his assault rifle, which then can rapid fire. So if you do that twice in one turn, you can get 6 attacks off. I think I made that one too hard because no one has really been engaging with that. We're only 2 weeks in, so maybe that'll change, but don't make them too hard. That's my biggest advice for the side missions. But come up with cool and interesting side missions. Try and focus on characters that are maybe underutilized and underpowered to try and, I don't know, get people to explore the entire catalog of the game, because there are a lot of characters in this game.
On that Winter Soldier thing, I distinctly remember the very first time that I ever saw him on the table. I was playing a game against Brad, and I was playing Juggernaut for some reason. I forget even what I was playing. But I had Juggernaut on the table, and Brad had Winter Soldier. And Brad did exactly what you just said. He got 6 attacks off against Juggernaut and KO'd Juggernaut from full health with Winter Soldier. And he was a 3-threat model. Now, this was back before he got touched, where it was just a hit you needed to trigger the rapid fire. But yeah. I distinctly remember this event occurring.
Yeah. Well, if that had happened during our league, Brad, you would have an alternate sculpt model of Winter Soldier. But unfortunately, that is not the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one might be a little too hard. We'll see. You're not going to expect everybody to engage in the side mission. Most of the time, usually a little more than 1/3 of people will, but I think that's kind of a sweet spot. Like, as long as some number of people are trying to do the cool thing, I consider that a success. So that's something that I definitely recommend trying, because you'll see more people put those models onto the table, which I think is a really cool thing. But so those 4 things that I just mentioned, the 3-point weekly system, the playing 4 different leaders, the spicy list, the side missions, those are ones that I think are really, really strong. Those are the ones you can keep going back to the well with every time you run a league, or at least most times you go back to the league. Maybe every once in a while, if your locals are clamoring for something specific and different, you might drop off one of those things for it. But then there are a lot of other ideas that we've gone through that I wouldn't do every single time, but I think they're still really cool things that you can do. So one really simple one is you can just make it so that people need to play fully affiliated. I keep that one at 4 out of 6 weeks also, just because I think everyone should have a couple weeks where they can just do whatever they want. But doing a bonus point for that's pretty cool, because if you pair that with the 4 different leaders, it sort of pushes people to play with a lot of characters they maybe wouldn't normally. The only reason I wouldn't do that every single time is because then you kind of end up shadow banding, like, Wakanda doesn't have that many affiliated characters. Winter Guard doesn't have very many affiliated characters. Gladiator's not affiliated with anybody, so you would never get to play him. So you don't want to accidentally shadow ban any affiliations or any characters for that reason. But that's a kind of a cool thing that you can try every once in a while. And I guess the takeaway there is anything you can think of roster building wise to incentivize with a bonus point, you can usually do it. That's usually a good thing that you can try and do at least. Another one that I probably won't do everything single time, but I'm doing it this season and I did the season before, is a challenge sheet. So I have done a challenge sheet with 5 different challenges on it. You can score each challenge one time, and they're all just worth 1 bonus point. Sorry, I heard someone talking.
I don't think anyone was.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I'm just paranoid.
You could have heard my rat.
Maybe. But so yeah, if you come up with 5 sort of unique and interesting challenges that are, some of them are a little bit easy, but then some of them are tough, so that not everyone's just going to automatically score all 5 of them. That's a good way to inject a few more bonus points and a little bit more hilarity. So one of the ones I mentioned last time was we had one called Touchdown, where if you were holding an extract and you got all the way to your opponent's deployment zone, that was like a one-time, you could score 1 extra point that week. Some other ones I've got that I've done are if you use all 5 of your tactics cards in one round, if you can get 4 people lined up in one beam attack, if you destroy 10 total points of terrain, which people might do more often now with the changes in collision rules, you might be incentivized to throw more small stuff. Last season I did one where you won a game with 13 or fewer points. This season I'm doing it where you win a game with 22 or more points, so you can kind of go in opposite directions like that with some of them. Things like that. I think that those are interesting ways to inject some more bonus points in, but you maybe don't want to do it every single time, simply because A, you're going to start coming up or having a hard time coming up with more ideas, but then B, you don't necessarily like I keep saying, you do want them to be real games for the most part. So if you have people going out of their way to do these sort of random goofy things at the cost of winning, it ends up being like, people will realize it ends up being like a net zero because they could have just won the game and gotten the point anyways. So you don't want people to get kind of bored with doing the wacky things. But I do think it's something that you'll want to do every once in a while, is come up with these goofy challenges to do. And then another one that I did that I liked, that I haven't revisited since, was I grouped all the affiliations into different like themed groups, and gave you points for staying within that themed group. So for instance, Brad, you like mutants, so I had one of the groups was just all of the mutant affiliations. So you still got your point for playing 4 different leaders, but then you also got a point if all 4 of those different leaders were inside that affiliation group. There was also, I'm trying to think of the other ones. There was like a Battle for New York one I did that was like Criminal Syndicate, Defenders, Web Warriors, Spider Foes. So I found a way to sort of break them all up into different themes to try and sort of encourage people to stick to a theme throughout the league while still playing a bunch of different leaders, if that makes sense.
So there are going to be some that don't fit into a nice little box in that sort of designation. Was one of the groups just grab bag?
I can't, hold on. I'm on my Facebook page right now, so let me see if I can find it.
Well,
some of them are stretched, right? So
yeah,
I'll go through them right now. So I had Mutant Mania was X-Men, Brotherhood, Hellfire Club, New Mutants, Sentinels, Weapon X, X-Force, Servants of Apocalypse. So that's pretty basic. Battle for New York was Defenders, Criminal Syndicate, Spider Foes, and Web Warriors. So I know that sounds like way fewer affiliations, but it still ends up being like 9 or 10 different leaders. So like every group had at least 9 different leaders you could choose from. There was Intergalactic Fighters, which was Asgard, Black Order, Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Inhumans was the one that was a bit of a stretch. Attilan was on the moon at one point, so that's in space, so that counted.
They were also in charge of the Kree Empire for a while, so
yeah,
not as much of a stretch as you think.
That's fair. Mystical Arts was Convocation, Dark Dimension, Legion of the Lost, Midnight Suns, Thralls of Dracula. Wakanda's the one in there that's a stretch. I guess the Wakandan herb's kind of mystic. And there's they have Vast and all their gods too, so that kind of fits. International heroes, A-Force, Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., and Winter Guard, and then World Domination, Cabal, Hydra, Legion of the Lost, Thralls of Dracula. So you'll notice Legion of the Lost and Thralls of Dracula were mentioned twice, and that was simply because I was having a hard time having all of them have at least 9 leaders, so I did have to double up on them. But if you can find a way to sort of fit them into thematic boxes so that people can stick to one theme while still playing a bunch of different leaders, that was one that people seemed to really like at the time, and I might revisit again sometime soon.
That is cool. I like that as an idea. Like, I that's a neat thought.
Yeah. Yeah, so just trying to come up with ways to sort of inject the theme of comics into how people make their decisions to play the game. That's kind of what you're going for. They're not all going to be winners. Like you're going to try some real stinkers, and that's okay. You just don't have to do them again.
Right, right. Okay,
Uh,
well, you've certainly given us a lot to think about. I know that we're going to be planning a league in the near future, and I'm not involved in the thought process behind it, but there are certainly some ideas that we are going to steal from you
Yeah.
in the process.
I have a
Yeah.
question for you, Daniel.
Sure.
So you keep stressing this play real game thing, and I think that's absolutely great. Have you ever tried doing special rules like encouraging use of like one shots or custom scenarios or anything like that? What's your thoughts on that?
I personally haven't done that yet. I think all of those things are fine. Like especially if your community wants to lean into that aspect, you absolutely can do that. I might branch away from like the spicy theme list week and try some of those things. I think if you set aside 1 week to do some wackier things, that's a good way to sort of incorporate those sorts of like alternate rules, ultimate game modes, things like that. And actually, one way in which we're doing that this season is as a part of our spicy theme week. I did no ban list, so any crises that are banned or rotated are just straight up available, and then any tactics cards that are banned are just going to be restricted because I don't want people to do insanely busted things with that. But so that's kind of one way I was like, all right, in theory, this isn't a real game. Like I said, we want to play real games, but if you set aside 1 week to sort of get creative and crazy to play your not real game, I think that's a good way to do it.
And you said that you had another store nearby that runs a league, but they run things differently. Can you like what do they do that's different?
Yeah, so I am not. I've never played in their league. I've
Right.
only ever looked at their Facebook posts about it. One of the things that they do that I don't love and don't personally do is they lock you into one affiliation. So you pick one affiliation and then you just play with those characters the whole time. Totally fine if that's what your community likes to do. We seem to have a lot better results, a lot better feedback when we have people playing different things. Another thing that they've done is they lock in the missions each week. So rather than you bringing your missions with your roster, they just preset them week to week. Again, totally fine if that's what you guys are into. Like I said, I like to prefer to play real games, and so like I like that bringing your missions is a whole part of the roster building process. So I don't want to take that away from players. And then the other thing that they do that's slightly different is they do 2 week matchups instead of one, so you have 2 weeks to get your match in. The only reason I don't like that is I just like to keep the league moving, because since we do tournaments at the end of it, they don't run any tournaments at their store. They just do the league. So and for our league too, like I post the matchups weekly. Even with doing that though, if you don't get your match in that week, like no one forfeits or anything like that. You just have to get it, make it up by the end of the league. So you still have plenty of time to get everything in. So those are the few key differences. Is they lock you in an affiliation. They pick the crises each week for you, and then they drag it out a little bit longer since they're not running tournaments at the end of it.
Yeah, and you do
Okay.
you do matchups, right? You
Yeah,
you set
that's
who.
actually the next thing on my little
Yeah.
bullet point thing here. Is how I would recommend doing pairings. I wouldn't recommend doing like Swiss pairings or anything like that.
Mhm.
It starts to create some issues where certain players will end up never playing each other because they either have to play week one, or they're very unlikely to ever play each other once you start getting a bigger player base, simply because newer players aren't going to do as well. They're not going to go as far in the Swiss pairings. You want to avoid that. You want people to play everybody in the league, because we're trying to stress that it's a little more casual in the first place. And also, if you try and do Swiss pairings, you are kind of locked into people need to have their game in by this day so that you know who you can pair people against. The
I
only
have a
thing I would recommend, yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a suggestion for that. I was
Sure.
actually trying to combine a league with casual night, and we used infinity stones. So we assigned affinity stones to everybody, and one of the points was to create the gauntlet. So somebody would have the soul stone, and if you needed the soul stone, that's who you were matched up against.
That's cool. I do like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. The way that I do it, the way that I've started doing it, when I first started, it was just, I did Swiss pairings the first time, didn't like it, so I just started going through and keeping track of who everyone had played in previous leagues and just made sure everybody played someone new. That started to become a problem as we got more and more new players, though, because what ended up happening is if you had been in the league since the very beginning, you had already played everybody else who had been in the league since the very beginning. So for you to play the most number of new players, all of the new people got fed to the people who had played the longest, and so we had a lot of new people going like 0-6 because of that. We didn't want that. So my new fix for that then is I essentially look at what your most recent record is. And for the first few weeks of the league, I just auto set you against other people who had a similar record in their most recent league. And then from there, I start pairing you up against people that you maybe haven't played against. So that way, it's not quite Swiss pairings, but it's still relatively putting you on the same level as the people that you're playing, and then getting you to play a couple new people after that.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
you've certainly given us quite a bit to think about with the leagues. Are there any other bullet points that you have on your league bullet points sheet?
Yeah, so the last thing I had on here, and we've kind of touched on it a bit with a few of Brad's questions, is I have future ideas that I'm workshopping. So like he mentioned, he was asking about like, different game modes or encouraging one-shots. If you're going to incorporate those things, like I said, I recommend picking a week to do them similar to the spicy themed week. A couple other ideas I've had for that are, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the gymnastics tournaments where you can put gems on any number of your characters.
Yes.
But like, that's a cool one that you can try and incorporate. The multiverse week that I had mentioned, we did in Fort Wayne this weekend. That'd be a cool one you can incorporate for 1 week. I had a really cool idea that I've still been workshopping where you give leaders an alternate affiliation based off of something that happened in the comics. So like, for example, Namor at one point teams up with Thanos in the Black Order. So what if we made Namor's leadership a Black Order leadership and you played him with Black Order characters? I think that'd be a really cool idea.
That's a great idea.
I just would have to go through to like, yeah, I would just have to go through to every leader in the game and pick one, or I could just let other people pick them. But I would want them to be thematic, and I don't know if I would trust people not to just do the busted thing, you know what I mean? But so those are some, like, I don't know, just like constantly be workshopping ideas, and even if you're not going to do them in your next league, keep them in mind and keep sort of working on them. And somewhere down the line, you might just, crack the code and be able to do something really, really cool.
An idea to add to your list is being able to play more than one leader in your faction at the same time.
That would be cool. Oh, that'd be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
It would that's another thing that would almost, you'd have to find a way to do it as like a 1 week thing or something, because it would almost shadow ban, like, Guardians only has one leader.
Oh yeah, that's a 1 week thing. That's not a whole league.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that'd be insane if I got to play, Amazing Spider-Man plus Miles every week as both my leaders. That would be fun. I don't think other people would like to play against that, though.
Yeah, but once, sure, and they're gonna play broke stuff too, and then you're gonna you're gonna play against, I don't know, X-Men, and it's not that exciting.
Right. But yeah, one other thing, I didn't mention it before when I was on that point, and I just remembered it, and I want to sort of point out, one of the really good things about having the threshold be 4 leaders instead of making you play a different leader every single week, it's still beginner player friendly. Even if you have a small collection, if you just own the core set and you don't have access to a printer to print the other 2 versions of Captain America, you have Captain America as a leader plus enough Avengers characters. You have Invincible Iron Man as a character plus enough S.H.I.E.L.D. affiliated characters. You have Red Skull plus enough Cabal guys, and you have Baron Zemo plus enough Hydra characters. So even if they just have the core set, they can still hit that for us out of 6 leaders, and that's why I think that's one of the strongest ones that I'm pretty much going to have in perpetuity. I'm just always going to staple that to our league unless they want to specifically ask to try something else. I think that's one of the reasons it's really strong. You get the 3 reps with any roster you want. You can then, dabble in 3 more, and then it's still beginner player friendly because as long as you have the core set, you have 4 different leaders and enough affiliated characters for them.
That is a great idea. That is a great thought to make it stay user friendly, make it stay beginner friendly, I should say.
Yeah. And if you have a printer, I don't care which Captain America you play with. So in theory, you could actually get like 6 or 7 leaders out of the core set. But if you don't have a print, if you don't have any way to print off extra character cards, you at least have those 4 available to you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that discussion about league play, Daniel. Let's move to the recalibration matrix. So whenever they make a change to a character, or whenever we have to update something about how we graded a character, or, sometimes we have just been plain wrong about characters, we like to go to the recalibration matrix and change how we graded them. We are recalibrating today Nick Fury Jr. And now that I'm thinking about it, Brad, have we even ever done Nick Fury Jr.?
Oh, that's
on
a
the
good
podcast?
Question. I should have checked
I actually
that.
don't think we have.
Hold on.
I was trying to think about what I would have given him, and I don't know if we've actually done him.
Yes.
Okay.
So
okay.
he, I think, must have been when he first came out, because he came out about the time we started the podcast.
It may have been before I was even on.
It may have been before you were on the podcast, Fred.
Okay. Well, Nick Fury Jr. just recently got changed. He received additional. Did he receive an additional hit point on both sides?
Yep.
Sure did.
Yeah. And for those of you who have played against Nick Fury Jr., you know that he's already tough to kill, and he's already a really effective model. So they just turned him up a little more than he already was. So he is a bit of a head scratcher as to why he caught this buff. But according to them, according to Will Schick, this is just like the tip of the iceberg of an ongoing readjustment to the stamina of models in that is coming in the future. I guess the want is to have characters stick around a little bit longer than they have been, to kind of like juice people's stamina a little bit more than they currently are. This one just feels so like he's already a great model, and with what is it? Eyes in the Sky? Is that the tactics card? Yeah. With that card, he's really hard to kill because he's constantly being pulled back out of range. Okay, so how do you guys want to do this? Are we going to go through everything on his card? I don't think that's necessary, but we should talk about how good this model is.
Yeah, I think the main reason I requested him for the recalibration matrix is because I feel like we could just breeze through it. He was already in the top, 25% of characters played, if not higher, and now there's just even more reason to play him. I understand it's the tip of the iceberg. It's just weird to me that this is one of the ones that they decided to roll out immediately. I'm assuming it has to do with product releases.
Yeah, it's got to be a timing of his release.
Yeah. He was already one of the most played 4 threats in the game, and now he's even sturdier. So he went from an A+ to an A+.
He also is a 4 threat that brings grunts. That there aren't very many of those, and his grunts are very good because they can hold an extract, and when they get KO'd, the controlling player for them places the extract, not the opponent. So
yeah, they're a pseudo safe grab.
Yeah, they run up, they grab something, you kill them, and then they throw it backwards instead of towards you.
Yeah.
And man, oh man, it's hard to play around that. Nick Fury Jr. also can kill the crap out of stuff. His spender gets additional dice if the grunts are threatening the model or if they've attacked him. I forget exactly how the interaction works. But I mean, I've seen him take down a Hulk before. This is a good model.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get everyone's thoughts on him. Steven, what are your thoughts here on Nick Fury Jr.? I guess Steven, we may have lost Steven. Brad, what are your thoughts?
I was muted.
Okay. All right. So what are your thoughts on Nick Fury Jr. there, Steven?
I don't mind the health buffs because it seems that they might be gearing up, especially seeing these sentinels on the horizon, that things are going to get more deadly. So I'm just taking that into account, that things are going to get ramped up. So you might see tablings more often than you do. So
okay,
so a little health here and a little health there is not a bad thing.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Nick Fury Jr. just in general?
I've only played against him once, and that was a long time ago up in Pittsburgh against Nick Angelo. And it's been like 2 years, so I'm foggy on it, and I really haven't seen him since. And I haven't played with him, so whatever I do is whatever I say is kind of like conjecture. It's just speculating, obviously. So grunts are always good, but there are ways around them, and there are ways to play around Nick Fury also. So those patterns will be found, but right now, when you're just presented with new information, it seems like he's invulnerable, but he really isn't. So
okay, yeah, I mean, you're correct. He certainly is not invulnerable. He is we, for a period of time in our meta, we had a person who was playing Shield and would play Nick Fury Jr. pretty frequently, and we got a lot of experience playing against him and seeing how good he is on the table. So, Brad, what are your thoughts on Nick Fury Jr.?
I already thought he was one of the better 4 threats, and now it seems like he's well above the curve.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that we've made our thoughts clear. Let's do a recalibration. I don't think I gave him a score last time, but he is definitely an A model. Like, he is up in the upper tier of models that are in the game. Brad, what do you think about him?
First, I would like to recommend the Mystique miniseries from either 2024 or 2025 by Declan Shalvey. It features
hey, I read that one.
It features Nick Fury Jr., and it was great, wasn't it, Daniel?
It was very good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I think Nick Fury is an A+.
Yeah. How about you, Daniel? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's real good. He was already real good. Like I said, he goes from an A+ to an A+.
Right. And Steven, what about you?
I'll give him an A, but there are ways around him. So Brad just mentioned one. It's called Mystique. So
that's true. Okay, well, that's our take on recalibrating Nick Fury. He just got better. I think that what Daniel and Brad brought up is the case, that this is just a model who is early in their release schedule. They have a shield box coming out in the near future, and so we found out about it now. In a few months' time, we will likely get another big tranche of updates, and in that grouping, we're going to see a lot more of the models that are a little bit further down in the release schedule. Like we know that they are talking about Mr. Sinister. We know that he's due for some sort of readdressing of his cards. So still holding out for a couple other changes, but until then, let's just see what happens. And let's move on now to the person that we are here to officially cover today, that person being Rescue, otherwise known as Pepper Potts. Her defensive stats are 4 physical, 3 energy, and 3 mystic. She has 5 stamina on the front of her card, and she has 6 stamina on the back of her card. And I know that from this one picture because it has both the stats blocks on the same picture here, Brad, in Cerebro.
There's no way for me to avoid that, model. Fred. This is what they gave us.
I know.
And
I'm aware.
The back of her card is there. We've got the full back.
Yeah, I see that. And it's the same rule that's there. She is a 3-threat model. She is a size value of 2. She is a medium mover, and we do not currently know what affiliations she will be in, but it's a pretty good guess she will be in S.H.I.E.L.D.
I don't think it is clear that she's going to be in S.H.I.E.L.D., Fred.
I didn't say clear. I say it's a pretty good guess. I said it was a pretty good guess. Well, Brad, what are her attacks?
Her attacks. Her first attack is an energy attack called Triage. It is range 4, 5 dice. After attack is resolved, gain a power. If it would deal more than 1 damage, it deals 1 instead. And a very cool trigger of Hit Medic. After this attack is resolved, choose up to 1 other allied character within range 3. Remove 1 special condition from the chosen character, or remove 1 damage for each hit in the attack roll from the chosen character. And then she's got another energy attack called Sonic Barrage. Beam 4, 5 dice, cost 4. Wild Stun after the attack is resolved.
Okay. Hey, Daniel, why don't you do the first 2 superpowers that she has on her card?
Yeah, she has Life Support Systems, cost 1 power. This character immediately makes a shake action. And then Medevac, cost 3 power. It is an action. This character immediately advances long. Then this character may choose another allied character within 2 that has an activated token. If it does, place the chosen character within 1 of this character. Then this character may remove up to 2 damage or 1 special condition from the chosen character. This superpower can only be used once per turn.
Okay, and Steven, why don't you finish up the card?
Okay, next we have a reactive called Sonic Force Fields. When this character or another allied character within 3 is targeted by a physical or energy attack, or would make a dodge roll, this character may use the superpower. This character adds 2 dice to the defense or dodge roll. We have the innate Rescue Armor. When this character would suffer damage from an enemy effect, reduce the amount of damage suffered by 1 to a minimum of 1. Additionally, when this character removes 1 or more damage or special conditions from another allied character, after the effect is resolved, this character will gain 1 power, and she has flight.
Okay, and that is her card. What are our first thoughts on this? Brad, I'm going to start with you. What are your first thoughts here on Rescue?
She is the first fully support healing character we have. She can only do damage, really, with her spender. But boy, can she heal. You can't lock her down with conditions. She clears them. She also heals and clears conditions off of a bunch of other people. Very defensive, very support. This is either awesome or game breaking, and we'll have to just see.
Yeah, there's some situations where I'm very worried about her being on the table. Like, this will enormously help attrition type game plans. Just helping your team stay in the fight for longer. And there's some scenario control here as well with the medevac superpower, like being able to move someone to a different location. It's not a huge move; it's within 2 and then place within 1 of her. But that can be a pretty big little shift if you know how to set it up correctly. What are your thoughts on this, Daniel? What do you think about rescue?
I think she's incredible. She's really, really good. I keep thinking of ways. So, as a Web Warriors player, on the new extract, where they kind of don't let you run away with the extracts because they're you'll drop them if you're within 5 of the board edge. I'm trying to think of ways to get around that, right? Because it's when you end your activation. This is one of the ways that you can do that. She can immediately move long, be 2 behind a character, and then place them 1 behind her. So if they've already activated, you can do this to essentially pull them out of trouble if you're late in the game and you want to try and make sure that you're scoring that extract. Like, this is the way that you break that scenario and run away with all the toys, is you can medevac with her. So I think she's really, really good for that. And then also, like, giving extra dice to any Web Warriors who are making a bunch of rerolls is also very good. Healing all of your Web Warrior characters because they're a little bit fragile, also very good. I mean, obviously, I'm talking about just Web Warriors here. I think that's really valuable in any strategy, any list. I think Brad is on the nose with her potentially being game breaking.
Yeah, it's a little worrying, honestly. Steven, what do you think about rescue?
Well, going back to Brad, I think we already had a dedicated healer in Wong, but she is light years ahead of him. Her movement's incredible. I mean, there were so many Defenders games or Midnight Suns games that I played where Wong was someplace, but I needed him to be another. This character takes care of that quite easily. So, I expect her to see. I expect her to be quite a few places, but time will tell. It's one of those things where everything here looks good, but get it on the table and find out.
Yeah.
I got.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. I've got.
I think the big difference between her and Wong is she's much better at protecting herself. Like, she has damage reduction, and she also can add dice. So, like, Wong, if you decide he has a problem with healing, you can just go punch him in the face. So I think you have a lot harder time doing that to her.
Well, then you had the extra tax of taking Doctor Strange, so you could up his defense dice or up his defense pool. So,
right. Right. Whereas Rescue can just always be very, very sturdy, regardless of what list she's in.
Correct. Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah. I on that thing, that's what I was going to bring up. Is that I think that she is insanely survivable. Like, for a 3-threat model, she has 11 health, which is on the good side of a 3-threat model. She has a dedicated superpower that buffs her defensive dice. Her defensive pool is 4-3-3. That's good. That is not a bad defensive pool. And then being able to
3-threat.
You've got a what?
I said it's ahead of curve for a 3-threat to have 4.
Yes, yeah, definitely ahead of curve for the 3-threat. Being able to buff that to 6, 5, and then 3. She can't buff her Mystic defense, but the 6 physical defense for 2 power is outstanding. That's I have to spend 2 power with Black Bolt to do that, and she reduces damage. Like, on top of that, she has damage reduction on her card. And whenever she heals someone, she gains power. So there's even some power economy built onto her card. She's got out of activation movement, damage reduction, defensive tech, and power generation. As well as, on top of that, having access to what is a very good ability, being able to heal, being able to remove status conditions from other people on your team, and being able to remove status conditions from herself. I think that this model is broken as crap. I think it's crazy that this is coming out. Like, for a 3-threat model, she might be in every list in the near future.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that she's going to be everywhere. like I cannot think of a team that wouldn't love to have this in their roster. I am like this is getting ahead of myself. This is an S model in my estimation as it currently stands, and like I think she's the one thing she doesn't have is she doesn't do a whole lot of damage on her builder. Is it a builder? No, it's just a gainer.
It's a gainer that she will likely be gaining 2 off of because she'll be healing people as she goes.
Right, and it can only do 1 damage, but 1 damage is not nothing. But then she's got a beam 7 dice spender for 4 power.
Like that gives out stun.
That gives out stun.
Like the only complaint is her 6 is on her back and not her front side. But if you're gonna complain about that, like the audacity.
Yeah, that is true. That I would rather see that on the front instead of the back. But still, it is good. It is excellent. So we don't have any do we have tactics cards for her?
No.
I did not think so. Okay. Then we need to give her a letter grade, and I've already told you mine. I think she's an S, and I think she's a little bit overclocked, but that is just how I'm seeing it. Brad, what do you think about Rescue?
She doesn't do damage. So she
I mean, that's true.
She does not help you get extracts back. I think that is going to keep her from being broken, if anything, because boy does she help protect your team. I'm gonna go with A+, but realize I could be wrong and that she's an S tier that's too good.
Okay, all right. Steven, what do you think about Rescue?
I'm not convinced, honestly. So I'm at a B+.
Okay. I think she's so good. I think everything on her is so good. Okay, Daniel, what are your thoughts on Rescue?
I'm with you. I think she's an S. And Brad, I disagree. I think she does take back extracts because she can place somebody up further with her medevac. Like I talked about it as, extracting somebody out of a situation. She can also push somebody into a situation. So she can throw a Thor at your face to start attacking into you, or a black cat, putting a black cat within one of somebody.
They have to have an activated token for her to...
Oh, never mind. All right, strike that. I'm a liar. Don't listen to me.
Yeah.
Either way, she's a 3 threat. She can't do everything, but she does a whole lot, let me tell you.
For a 3 threat, she does a lot.
Another thing that would keep her in check is access to power, and they went and screwed that up by giving her tons of power.
An incredible power economy.
Yeah, I was gonna say they did. She's got access to power, but you were saying that is a way to control her.
Yeah. And then they just
that last sentence there.
Yep.
Yeah, because her gainer is oftentimes going to give her 2. Medevac costs 3, but she'll oftentimes be refunding 1 off of it. So really, as long as you have a power on her or enough power on her already, it's really only costs you 2. It's real good.
Yeah. And you're just never gonna get a spender.
That is our take on Rescue. Yeah, we'll see. She has not hit the table yet, and to everyone's point, this is a tech piece. This is not a game-winning piece. It's a piece to fix the rest of your team, but she's a good one. She is a real good tech piece, and I bet she's going to be splashed a lot. Okay, let's move on to comic book recommendations. Brad, do you have any comic books that feature Rescue?
I do. She's not really been the main character focal point in a story, but I do have some stuff. I have Invincible Iron Man, The 2009 series, 8 through 19. This is Matt Fraction and Salvador LaRocca. And this storyline's called World's Most Wanted. And after being blamed for the Skull invasion, Tony Stark is on the run. And Norman Osborn's hammer, which replaced S.H.I.E.L.D., is trying to chase him down because he has in his head the identities of all the registered superheroes, and Norman wants that information. So while he's on the run, Pepper Potts, whose first name is Virginia, and I did not know that till today, takes over as CEO, and she finds a secret room that has a suit that was designed for her. So she puts it on and calls herself Rescue. And in her new superhero persona, she finds Tony, and she defeats Madame Mask. And then she takes Madame Mask's place to infiltrate Hammer. And so there's a lot of good work there. And this is actually the first time, obviously, that she becomes Rescue. All right. And then the second recommendation I have, last recommendation I have, is the next issues of that series, 20 through 33. Still Matt Fraction and Salvador LaRocca. There's two storylines here: Stark Disassembled and Stark Resilient. Tony starts a new company called Stark Resilient and has a major competitor. What's it called? I don't remember. Detroit Heavy Steel or something like that. But it's run by Justine and Sasha Hammer. And Pepper gets a cryptic warning about the future, but she still suits up and helps Tony in his endeavors. So if you want to see her as Rescue, those are the comics you should read. Oh, and with the Stark Disassembled and Stark Resilience era, she got a one-shot called Rescue that you should read in there, and you should consult an online reading guide to figure out where you should read that, because I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't.
All right.
I don't know. You should read it at the right time in that storyline, though.
Oh, it's one of those ones where it fits into a very specific slot in between comics.
Yes, because it is part of the storyline,
Okay.
but it wasn't part of the series. It's just they published it.
A standalone.
If you were reading them just as they came out, you just read it when it came out. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know where you need to read that now.
Okay. All right then. Well, thank you for those recommendations, Brad. The only thing that's left is my non sequitur recommendation, and for this one, Rescue Pepper Potts was played by Gwyneth Paltrow in the MCU. My go-to here is going to be the movie Seven. It's a David Fincher movie starring Brad Pitt, and it is an excellent movie about an investigation of a serial killer that is killing people in a theme of the Seven Deadly Sins. It's a great movie. It's a classic movie.
Yes,
And
Morgan
it's-
Freeman's
has Gwyneth
just
Paltrow.
a nobody that anyone's ever heard of.
Right, yeah. Who's ever heard of Morgan Freeman?
Or Kevin Spacey,
that's
for
it.
that matter.
Well, and I'm a little nervous that I've already recommended this movie. I don't remember. I know that I've recommended other David Fincher movies. I just don't know if it was this one. So, whatever. This may be another No Country for Old Men situation where I've recommended it more than once in the past.
If
But
Fred has recommended this before, sound off in the comments.
I guarantee you that no one is listening. Everyone's already turned off their podcast player by now. But yeah, that
Well,
is.
just in case, Fred, I'll recommend another Gwyneth Paltrow movie for you. It's called Running with Scissors, and I really don't remember much about the premise. It's kind of a strange indie movie she was in, but there's one specific scene that is hilarious, and if you've ever seen the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, I've never seen Running with Scissors.
It's a weird movie.
I don't think I've heard of it. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. Hold on, let me look it up real quick.
All right. Well, while he's looking that up, I just want to say thank you everyone out there for listening to us talk and ramble so much today. And thank you to Daniel for joining us and for talking about leagues, something that he is quite clearly the expert in, even though he rejects that title.
Running Scissors is a 2006 comedy drama based off of the memoir written by Ryan Murphy. It's wild. It's a strange movie, but it's interesting.
Okay. I will have to look that up. And until next time, everyone, I hope that you all have excellent games of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Goodbye.